Welcome back to the Hit in the Turnbuckle podcast. It's NWA Powerr time again, which is always actually my favorite show of the week, predominantly because it's the show that I do with somebody other than nobody. But my guest, as always, for NWA is the wonderful, the amazing Miss Fiona Lochran. Evening, Fee.
Good evening.
It's been a week, right?
It's been a week, it's been a day. Yeah, let's just leave it at that.
We'll leave that right there. It's been a busy week wrestling wise, obviously, with everything that's gone on. We're not going to talk about all of that. But before we get into Powerr, I just wanted to say, grab your attention to something I sent you at the weekend. Another addition to the Crockett Cup coming up in a couple of weeks' time. El Hebner is going to
I
be
know,
making
what a
appearance.
wee legend. That's exciting.
It is. If you add on to Natty, we'll get into because things have happened. We'll get into that in a minute or so. Natty and Jesus, who's the other one?
You
Gal
Kim.
Kim. Gal Kim there as well. It's going to be shaping up to be a who's who of wrestling at the Crockett Cup.
Yeah, it's shaping up to be good. And it's not that far away. It's only a few weeks away now.
3 or 4 weeks away to the Crockett Cup taping. Obviously, it is a taping, so we won't see it for a while. But
Well, on that note, I think we might be catching up because this week's episode of Power was from the Power Station in Tampa.
it
So
was.
I
It
think we're
was.
slowly catching up.
We have been catching up, that's for sure. Let's get to that second bit of news quickly. So, for those of you that have been living under a rock or haven't seen it, Natty Neidhart was at Bloodsport, victorious in her match. Congratulations to that. But it was more about what happened after. Now, Natty goes around slapping fans' hands as they normally would do, gets to the corner of the arena. Lo and behold, there is Kenzie Page herself, and decided to flip Natty off, as you do.
Because why not? I don't
Because
think
why
I'd
not?
be doing that.
Yeah, I'd love to do it, and I'd probably end up eating the same stuff as what happened afterwards, which was a bit of a brawl. It ensued after that match. But I mean, look, we know Natty's going to be wrestling at the Crockett Cup. I mean, the mind boggles. We were just talking off air just now, Fee, about Markova and potential a tag match there.
Yeah,
She's going to be busy. Natty's going to have her hands full in a few
she
weeks.
is. She is, and they've not announced their opponent yet. So, like you said, we were talking, is it going to be Kenzie for the Bark? And then Natalia Markova on X has put her two bobs worth in and said, could be fun if we tag together, Natty. And then the two of us are like, oh, Natty and Natty versus Pretty Empowered. That's juicy.
It is. It is very juicy. On the note of the Crockett Cup, though, we had a couple more teams announced for the Crockett Cup. The Southern Six will be defending the
I'm
Crockett
not
Cup.
surprised to hear that.
And the Slime Balls are going to
Your
be,
boys.
my boys, the Slime Balls will be appearing, or at least in the Crockett Cup anyway. So, field is shaping up.
It is indeed. It is indeed. I'd love to see some outsiders though come in. Even the outsiders. But I would love to see some more external teams coming in for the competition. But who knows? I don't think there's many spaces left.
There isn't, I
And to
don't
be
think.
honest with you, I think the first rounds have probably already taken place.
Yeah, I think we're going to get to that very soon. I think there's probably maybe one more match left in the Jack Dane tournament to get to the
Yeah.
final. I think there's Colby, isn't it, and
Yeah.
somebody and Birchall. Um, so perhaps once we finish that, we'll get an understanding as to who's at least attempted the Crockett Cup, and let alone who is in it. But without further ado, let's get in to this week's NWA Powerr. And just when we thought we had seen the last of Aaron Stevens, no,
No.
no,
We're
we
never going
haven't.
to see the end of Aron Stevens, let's be honest.
Well, we're not. But on this week's, he is going to reveal something that the world has never seen before. That's what he said,
Allegedly.
allegedly, at the start of Power, and that he was going to change the world and change the world of the NWA as well. Well, more on that as we roll through the show on Power. That hasn't finished with Aaron, for those of you that are wondering. We will see him at the end. But we do get into a match, and coincidentally, what a great match and what a great person to have in the first match. Whereas actually, if you drop down the NWA playlist right now, You can see an interview with this man. Miss, I haven't put it out to Twitter world yet because I thought it was going out tomorrow, but I was wrong. But it is Tyler Franks. Now he takes on our good friend Carson Drake. In the for the television championship, sorry, for the, is
Yeah.
it television? Oh, isn't it? Yes.
Television title, 6:05 time limit. This was just everything I wanted it to be.
It
It was
was.
really fast paced. I loved it. They
I
were
thought.
such a good match for each other.
I put down here two future stars of the NWA, and I'm sure Carson will believe he's already a star, but
Oh, well, yeah, he's got a belt already. He's just, yeah, whatever. But Tyler put on a cracking show.
he
I want to
really
see
did.
more of him there. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think if if anything of this match has showed me that we need more Tyler Franks in the
Yeah.
end in the NWA, and that's not just because we've just interviewed him either. It is a legitimate thing. A couple of things I wrote down was well, the first bit they chanted "We don't like you" to Carson Drake, which I thought was
That was so funny. So funny.
I thought that was brilliant. You are right though. I put in there quick pace. Tyler Franks tried a quick few pins straight away because I think Billy said it right brilliantly on commentary because he was like, sometimes in the people seem to forget about the 6:05 limit. It takes them a few minutes to get into the match,
Yeah.
and then by then you're rushing because you've got that
Yeah.
limit.
Well, that's it. Kick off with the offense ASAP.
Exactly, and he did, to be fair, and he's a couple of near falls in there. There was a big actually diving net breaker from him that got near a near fall later on. I do like the Carson shuffle into the $1 million man's fist, falling fist. I think that's brilliant for Carson. But nevertheless, it got to nearer the end of this match, and Carson Drake did indeed he hit. I called it the stroke because Jeff Jarrett's old finish, right? That's what it was.
Okay.
There we go. But Carson Drake hits the stroke. I think I want to say Danny Dills called it the investment. I think or
I
something
can't
something along
remember.
those lines. Not can I? And he hits the 1, 2, 3. So Carson Drake now that was his number 6.
So he's only got one more to go before he can cash in.
Yeah, it
Wow.
was. That's number
And then
6.
that's exciting. A, that he
Mhm.
gets to cash in, but B, that the belt then becomes vacant. And
Mhm.
we can have a whole new series of people going for it. And there's so many options for it.
I would love it to go to a territory go like a Tyler Franks or a Hunter or a Jackson Drake or
Yeah.
someone like that. I think it would be great. I mean, these two. I mean, in the small limit. I know that sometimes we say we'd love to see it longer. I think this was perfect. But if someone said to me you'd get that for another 10 minutes, I wouldn't have been
Would they
complaining.
have lasted another 10 minutes at that pace? Who knows?
Uh, well, I don't know. I did love it at the end though, because he called Carl Davis in the ring, and before he could talk, from "We don't like you," it was "Nobody cares" from the
The
Tampa.
crowd were on fire for that. That was great. I love that the crowd hates CBD.
I think it's great, and
Funny. It just entertains me.
he ended it with "We can't beat me." So, and then his trademark laugh and the shuffle, and it's not the last we see of Carson Drake. By the way, just we'll get into that now. On the NWA, we have seen a lot of things and these backstage, not backstage things, but we've seen a lot of promos. We've had the what was it? Only slams. We've had Chef. We never found out who that was,
We
by the
never
way.
found out who that was.
We
They've got
had
a habit of bringing these things in, and then you see them once or twice, and they disappear into the abyss, and you don't know what's happened or where they've gone or anything like that.
exactly. So we've had that. We've had cooking with Carson. We've had all sorts of fun. Now we get to the president of the territories. And yes, your vote, everybody, counts. And the first person was in there was Kenzie Page.
Indeed, she was.
She wants your
Indeed,
vote.
she was. This kind of reminds me of going back to Carneyland, not the Billy Corgan Carneyland, but Carneyland that aired during COVID. Um, they were having presidential elections for the mayor of Carneyland before Carneyland ended, and there was lots of little skits from wrestlers stating their claim and why we should be voting for them. So it's very similar. It kind of harks back to 2000 basically.
Yeah, it certainly does. So Kenzie, obviously, promoter of KFW Crossfire, where you can see Tyler Franks, by the way.
Indeed.
And that was followed quite quickly by NWA Chicago offering for presidency. That was, of course, Brian Idle.
It was indeed. Also
Mm.
putting his name in the hat.
Throwing his name in the hat for presidency. It gets better, folks.
Oh, it
Honestly.
does. It absolutely does. I know where my vote's going.
We'll talk about that in a minute. We certainly will. But back to the action, and we've spoken already about Kenzie. Well, she was teaming with Kylie against the Moneybirds. Did you hear Billy's botch on commentary?
I didn't know.
Called them Ladybirds.
Oh, you got the name wrong. That's right. And then at one point, I think one of them got the actual girls' individual names mixed up because they're Moneybirds. So it was Ladybird Monroe and Gigi Ray.
Yes, it is.
And I think he got them mixed up. Someone got them mixed up. I don't know if it was Billy or Tony or whoever, but yeah.
And
It was really good to see Pretty and Power together again, though.
I agree with that.
I feel like
It's
it's
been
been a while since we've seen them.
it's literally I was going to say, and obviously with all of this other stuff that's been happening with her, Kenzie and Kylie and Hunt, it is Hunter, isn't he? Yeah, Hunter Drake.
Yeah.
And there's more to that in a minute, actually. But I was kind of wondering where we were going to get with this, whether there was going to be some tension, but no. But the Moneybirds did start very, very well.
They did. They did. It's the first time I've seen them as well.
Yeah, I think they did. Well, they're not a Shockwave.
That might be the episode I missed. There was one episode of Shockwave I missed.
There was two
My
actually.
bad, I'm sorry.
There was two actually.
Right, thanks for that.
Anyway, yes, but anyway, very good to see them. There was a bit of confusion actually, which led to sort of the Page sisters taking control of this. It was like a who's legal, they're out the ring and in the ring
Yeah.
and whatnot. And I find it quite interesting because the Page sisters were clearly playing heels here, but if you listen to the crowd, it was a very big split.
Yeah.
Or
It's a strange, it's not it's almost like the crowd aren't sure what way to go with them.
yeah, I think that I
I
do
think
agree
it's
with
like one minute they're like, oh, they're great, and the next minute, oh no, they're not good. We shouldn't be cheering for them, sort of thing. So I don't know. But like the first match again, this was really, really fast paced as well.
It was. It kind of set the tone for, apart from the last match, which we'll get into. It's kind of like two quick matches. The last match was kind of a more of a heavy hitting, slower
Yeah.
um, contest. But the Page sisters then took advantage, and as I said, of that sort of confusion thing about the legal person. Then they kind of done a great job of isolating. I think it was Gigi at this point for quite
Yeah.
some time before Gigi made the hot tag to Ladybird Monroe, and then, which, well, it was kind of a cheap win, wasn't it? For,
I
for
mean, I didn't say that, but when you're bringing in implements, then yeah, absolutely.
well, initially they were going to hit her with the tag belt. They moved that to the outside to the referee. While the referee was doing that, Kenzie passed Kylie the Burke. That got thrown, that got smashed into the face of, I think it was Monroe. And then it was kind of like a delayed thing because they threw the belt away. Then it was like a bit of a delayed wait for the pinfall.
Like, oh shit, better pinner.
Yeah, I thought maybe maybe there was meant to be a move that was going to be hit or something, and they maybe have forgotten about it. I don't know.
I don't know.
Um, but the Page sisters pick up the victory, much needed, I think,
Yeah,
given all the circumstances of what's been going on
I'd agree with that.
recently. So a big kind of a big win for the Patriots, and maybe Kenzie's not going to be so worried about stuff.
Yeah, and maybe things are okay between them. I know we spoke about it. Is there trouble in the camp? Is there a little bit of friction or whatever? But they seemed to be on the same page last night, so maybe we just imagined all of that.
Maybe. I mean, they did shut it down quick enough as we put it up there. So,
They did. They did.
so, but with that in mind, let's go back to the presidency. Now, what I liked about this one, excuse me, was it was Joe Kazana.
We
But
love
it was,
Joe.
we love Joe, but it wasn't going for the presidency of the territories. He was going for presidency of the NWA.
He was indeed. He was
So-
indeed. And why should a man of such integrity not do that?
Well, yes, indeed. I mean, he did mention on there that a good friend of ours, Trevor Murdoch, was going to be in on this during the promo as well. But he did also, of course, mention that this is going to be done with integrity and, of course,
Of
with
course, by
integrity
the book.
by the book. Oh, you can't even see it, but by the book. He was going to do it by the book. Kazana, I love it. I think he just makes me laugh every time I see that guy. He's just so funny. With anything he does, he's just brilliant. Joe Kazana, and
He's entertaining for sure.
he may not get my vote, but on this occasion, but you know, he's still a great person to have on the NWA. In from there, we move back to the Page household.
We do. And I was like, for a minute, I was like, I've seen this before, and I don't know why I thought I'd seen this before, but obviously it's Tommy and Hunter and
It is.
sitting having a good old chin wag on the stairs.
And he and Tommy mentioned that Brian Idol was on his way to the house and he wanted to talk with Hunter. It wasn't him. But then Hunter sends a text message.
Yeah, interesting. I'd love to see who that was to because it was quite sort of deliberate and it very much seems very connected to
What's going on?
whatever's going on.
Indeed, it did. But Brian Idol comes in and says, "Look, you know, you took liberties." He kind of shook his hand. There's a bit of respect there, and he said, "Look, you know, you got to do what you got to do when you're in the ring, but you took liberties with Markova, and you know, and you was being a bit corny." I think Brian,
And I don't like it.
and he didn't like it. So because of that, Brian Idol and Hunter Drake are going to be having a match down the line on Power, possibly next week, and it's going to be about respect.
Interesting. That'll be fun. I think
Oh,
that'll be quite a
it'll
good
be a
one.
great match. I think I'm gonna enjoy that one. I think,
Yeah,
to be
me
honest.
too.
You know, in from there, we thought at this point that we were gonna get Trevor Murdoch's presidential campaign, but
It very much looked like it, and then very quickly it wasn't.
and very quickly it turned into the campaign of EC3. Although he wasn't necessarily on the screen, it was one of his, I assumed.
Why be on the screen when you've got minions to do your bidding for you?
Exactly that, and that's exactly what happened. One of EC3's minions was on the screen,
I'm
giving
gonna
his
get shot for calling them that, haven't
probably both are, to be fair, but
I?
sue us. You lost our vote, EC3, but it's not. Yeah, so EC3's presidential campaign kicks off. If they're going to be doing this every week, I can't wait.
I'm here for it.
I'm all here for the presidential stuff. Yeah, so it was EC3, and then we moved. Obviously, what NWA do a great job of doing is doing the Jack Dane Memorial
The recap's great. I love
recaps.
that they do the recap and kind of keep you up to date with who's won what and where they're at and bring up the brackets so that you can see who's advanced and stuff. That was really good. I was actually really chuffed with that again this week.
Yeah, I enjoyed the fact that it was doing that, and it leads us to the main event: Kerry Morton versus Frank, uh,
Kerry.
which
Absolutely adamant he's winning the tournament and absolutely adamant that everybody in the audience paid to come and see him.
he
He's
made
so
that point.
friggin' arrogant, isn't he?
Yeah, he made that point very clear. And yes, you're right. He was very arrogant in doing so. Although, like, then I can't get my head around to he's going against Frank, who's technically a heel, right?
Technically a heel, but then with the seeding, because Kerry was 3 and Frank was 7, so in terms of the seeds and stuff, there's a little bit of a gap in there. But
Well,
yeah, I don't know if I'd fancy going up against Frank.
I certainly wouldn't. But before the break on this, Kerry couldn't get going at the start of this. It was all Frank from
It took him a
literally.
little minute. You could see him try to size Frank up and kind of he
Yeah.
was a little bit standoffish at the start, just kind of getting a vibe, figuring out how tall he was and stuff. And he was very much kind of on the back foot from the minute the bell rang.
Yeah, he was until the break, because before the break, he then hits a big DDT. But as we go to the break, we then get the presidential campaign started for Trevor Murdoch. But Trevor Murdoch has got a campaign assistant.
Of course he has.
And those of you that know, the tag team partner is Mike Knox, and that's his campaign manager.
I love this.
It
Love,
was.
love, love. Particularly the end. And it's just a picture of or a panning in and out of Knox's face, and he's just like
Yeah, as
so
Trevor's
funny.
going like that with
So
his thumb
funny.
up,
With his like
hat.
American flag Stetson on and his shades on. So I'm sorry, I'm just saying this right now. Trevor for president.
See, I'm a little bit biased with mine, and mine's going to Kenzie for Page Sisters.
She runs her own company. She doesn't need more CEO stuff going on. Like she's got her hands full.
It's fine.
Trevor and Noxie, come on, you know it's going to be fun if they're in charge. You
I
know.
would agree that it would be hilarious for both of them.
It'll be like beers and barbecue for everyone if they get in.
It would be great. It would be great. I would admit it would be awesome if they got in,
I
but
hope there's more next week. I really,
oh,
really hope there's more next week.
there
Like,
has to
I
be.
actually genuinely hope that NWA do something with this and don't let it just disappear into the ether like they've done with so much other stuff.
Yeah, we don't want to see another Only Slams or Cooking with Carson that just stops without
No,
revealing
like,
anything. Well, yeah.
yeah, I really hope they go somewhere with this and they actually make something of it and make it a proper storyline.
More next week, please,
Yeah.
NWA. But we do return from the break, and no surprise, when we return from the break, Frank's back in charge of this, and eventually he hits the fall away slam, a choke slam. Then Austin Idol blows a whistle. So when you think this match is over because he's hit the choke slam that he pinned Max with, Austin Idol then blows a whistle, and that whistle goes to now what they call the hillside strangler slam.
I never caught that name. Thank you for doing that.
That's fine. I had to make sure that I did. That got the victory over Kerry Morton, which was interesting because with Kerry costing Frillbilly, Silas Mason, we kind of assumed that it was going to go that way
Hmm.
for Kerry, but then none of the sub and six were there for
There
him.
was nobody there for him.
No Rick, and considering Ricky and Austin Idol's beef goes back a long way, you would have even thought Ricky would have been out there.
Yeah, but there was no sign of anybody, which kind of surprised me a little bit.
Maybe we'll get more into that next week. Maybe they'll go back to the clubhouse and there'll be a regrouping session or something along those lines, and we'll understand a bit more as to why nobody was there with any luck. Maybe. I don't know. I'm just guessing at this point. But like I said, it doesn't end there because if you remembered right at the start of the show, we told you that Aaron Stevens was going to have this big surprise. It was going to train, the surprise of a lifetime. It's going to shake the very foundations of the NWA. Jeremiah Plunkett walks in.
Yeah, Plunky.
Good old
We love
Plunky.
Plunky.
Um, and it's like he's sort of mumbling to Aaron,
Very
and
secretive, isn't it? It's all secret squirrel stuff.
Aaron's like, "Cut, cut." He said, "This guy is this guy an idiot? He wants to leech off of others and all of this sort of stuff." And so obviously, whoever he had was planning to bring isn't coming.
There's something going on. There's something brewing. I don't think I've ever seen Aaron look so frustrated, other than maybe when he tried to marry me and it went horribly wrong.
Yeah, we'll talk about May in a minute, actually.
Yeah.
Finish off on that in a minute. But it ends with Carson Drake and one of the slime balls joining the fray. And Drake has just spent near enough the whole of the last couple of minutes laughing, saying, "Now you need me." And then it ends with Carson Drake laughing throughout the end of the show.
It ended so quickly. Do you know that show last night was like 36 minutes and 47 seconds?
37 minutes and 47 seconds.
Was it 37? Okay.
Yeah.
So short.
Very short. Very, very
NWA are
short.
really hit and miss with that because sometimes they're that short and other days it can be like 55 minutes or whatever.
Yep.
That was like really, I kind of felt shortchanged last night, not gonna lie. I mean,
No,
I
we
was
wanted
glad to
more.
go to my bed because it was late, but I felt a little bit shortchanged by that last night.
We needed more in WA. That's what we needed.
They
No
could have
lie.
put another match in, easy. They could
Oh,
have
they
made
had to.
that a four-match show.
No, they could have done. They absolutely could have done. I think
Sort
that's
it out.
you've been told. You've you've been told. But we
See,
would actually
if you make it a four-match show at 45, 50 minutes, we'll get through the matches quicker and we'll get caught up quicker. Boom.
indeed.
Simple.
Indeed, indeed, indeed. And now on that note, we did say we'll come back to May. So May Valentine, who has been the backstage for NWA for the last 5 or so years, has left the NWA.
Yeah, I saw her post and she said that her role at the moment wasn't they weren't moving forward with her role.
Mhm.
And part of me can see that with the vignettes and stuff that they're doing now and the video packages that they're doing now are almost like answering the questions that she potentially would have asked.
Yeah.
Which is a real shame. I like May. I really do like May. I had the pleasure of seeing her a couple of times. And she had come on such a long way from the first season. Like, I remember seeing her in the first season being okay, okay. And by the time she's finished, she was just so good
Mm.
and so comfortable in front of the camera and stuff now. And that girl's been through a lot.
Yeah.
Obviously, I spoke about the almost marriage to Aron and things like that. She's been through a lot. She got bullied by Pretty Empowered and various other females throughout the years, but she doesn't take any shit. And I'm a wee bit sad that she's not going to be there anymore.
Yeah, so big thank you to May. It's been, I mean, I've only been there for the last couple of years of seeing you on the NWA, but a big thanks for the contributions that you've made to the NWA. And we wish you well, and we hope it's not the last we see you in wrestling. That's
Well, it seems like the door's not shut completely,
no,
and that potentially there is room for her to come back at some point. So if
that
they
would
move
be,
in a slightly different direction, but I think the direction that they're going in now, there just was no place for her. She just wasn't a fit.
yeah.
So,
Shame, but good luck, and we wish you all the very best. Now, Fee, we come to the point of the show near the end where I always say to you, what's going on in your world?
I have a busy weekend this weekend. This is Wednesday, isn't
Yes, yes.
it? It's been a long few days. Oh my goodness, excuse me. Um, Friday night, Premier British Wrestling in Greenock Town Hall. Always a banger of a show. It's a beautiful venue. It's one of the grander venues that we run shows in. Beautiful big town hall, gorgeous wooden floors, massive ceilings, big balcony. It's usually jumping. We are on course for a pretty big crowd, as in I'd seen a post from the owner who said he believed we were on par for our biggest turnout for that venue, which
Brilliant.
is amazing. So that's exciting. Saturday night British Championship Wrestling are in my hometown, and yesterday we sold that motherfucker out.
Excellent.
So really excited. My favorite venue, which is crazy. It's a community hall. It's a community hall in my town. It's one of the few venues that doesn't use barriers for
Like
the
the
crowd.
NWA. Well, they do, but
So,
not the front.
so one of the few here that doesn't use barriers for the crowd. The action always spills out. It's going to be so much fun. And sadly, it might be our last show there. The building has been sold, was owned by the council. It's been sold to a developer. The whole complex is getting knocked down and razed to the ground. And it might be the last show. They've told us that we continue to run there until the building gets shut down. So potentially our last show in that venue, which is really sad because we've run there for 20 years. Well,
Wow.
21 years now. So in fact, 21, yeah, 21 years now. But I'm really looking forward to like the crowd there. It's my hometown. There's always loads of people there that I know. They're always up for the cup, and it always just ends up getting ridiculous, but guaranteed a good night action. So
There you
really
go.
looking forward to that.
There you go. Lots to do for you this coming weekend,
Absolutely.
which is going to be going. And inside the ropes, is Brett the next one, or is there one? Have I missed one?
Brett September.
Hmm. Can't think there's any more.
That's all I know right now.
Yeah, unless I mean, something may be announced later. We don't know,
Kenny's
but
been in Vegas. You never know who he's been chatting to while he's been out there.
he has been in Vegas. Yes, you're absolutely right. And yeah, that so keep the eyes peeled to
Yeah,
ITR.
absolutely.
Page. For me, it's obviously coming up this coming Sunday. I'm recording with former WWE diva Cherry. Will be coming on. Looking forward to that. But the more important pressing matters is Ignite Wrestling on May the 18th. The last stand. Full card is now announced, so I can go through it in detail. We have Chris Aries, Mr. Happy. If you look at his pictures, you'll know him why I call him Mr. Happy, because he never smiles. Against Smashing Mike. That's a rematch from the last show, which shall we say Chris Aries won rather controversially, shall we say on that. There is also the return of the breakout. Callum Beck is in there. Tom Mercer, Tall Tom or Tiny Tom, if depending on what you want to call a 7 foot dude. Entirely up to you. And obviously, those of you that haven't seen it yet, and you won't have seen it yet because I only spoke to him yesterday, we was meant to have Bart O'Connor as part of the breakout match, but unfortunately, due to a damaged spleen that he's had for years, and he's been bleeding internally for years, and he's been wrestling through it. Um, he's not going to be there. No, no surprises. while he waits for what the surgery, if there's going to be any surgery, what they're going to do. Check out the interview when it drops next week. He'll tell you all about it. But instead of that, in his place, now those of you that know Smashing Mike will know that that guy is fucking,
Smashing.
well, I was thinking about absolute bonkers in terms of what he's like. So that's the face version. Now, can you imagine a heel version of Smashing Mike? Well, you can, because you will see him at the last stand, and that is the Prince of Peckham, Tyler Walker, taking the place of Bart O'Connor in there. So
Right.
he will be in there to show us what he's made of in that breakout division. On top of that, a potential match of the year candidate. It's a triple threat match. It is Kieran Lacey, Joe Lando from CPF, and Corey McRae, who returned at the last show. So that's Corey's first match back since Luke Jacobs in July. Sorry, shall I say? So that should be interesting. The turnbuckle title will finally be defended. I'm like, Christ, am I begging for a Luna to win this off Mark True? Can't think of anything better on a Sunday, on that Sunday, for a Luna to be holding up that trophy. So hopefully that will happen. Tommy Kyle will be defending the Ignite Wrestling Championship against the debuting Joe Kessler. And finally, in the match that got announced only this past weekend, it's called The Last Stand for a reason. There was a clue in the name. It is Last Man Standing. It is the Battle of the Rebellion, of the former Rebellion. It is Taylor James versus Jack Torino. Last Man Standing. Last Man Standing in the library that is Shenley Road on May the 18th. And it's Taylor's kind of final ghost in a lot of senses before potentially he cashes in that Ignite briefcase and goes on to, who knows, could cash it in against a turnbuckle champion. Actually, that wouldn't be a bad shout, Taylor. If Mark wins, could you cash it in against him straight after? Hit him with a fidget spinner, and then you can walk out turnbuckle champion.
That's smart.
It's smart, but then do I really want Taylor James as my champion? That's the other side of it. Not quite sure. Anyway, catch that. Go to 96 Eventbrite. There's a handful of tickets left on. They will go before the show, so make sure you get that. But Fee, that wraps up another NWA show, which leaves me to ask you one final question, which is, shall we do this again next week?
We shall.
We'll be here. Make sure you're here. Don't miss another episode of the Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast with me, your host, Adam Cousins, and the wonderful Miss Fiona Lochran. Until next week, everybody, buckle down, stay safe.